On the billboards, there's all kinds of things going on, all kinds of cartoon characters and photographs and stars and all kinds of things. I'm going to zoom in way down here at this one screen, way here, which has this little MnM guy. So I'm going to create him right now, and let's go look at the original art for him, which is right here. There's the original art, which you can see is made up of many, many different layers. Now, I'm going to make something similar to him, almost exactly like him, but with a few variations in here. And keep in mind that what I'm doing is just an idea so that you can take it a step further. A little change here in the shape and so on, you can create your own little cartoon characters. So let's go in here and create a whole new file. We're going to create this little weird little cartoon guy. So I'm going to create a big oval here, a big ellipse, which is going to be the basic character right there. And he's going to have these big eyes right here. So we're just going to create one oval there. And I'm going to duplicate that oval straight over to have that second eye right there. Now, I want to rotate these guys a little bit. So I'm going to just rotate this path right here. Rotate it over that way. That's good. And then we'll take this one and rotate it the other way. So let's just go in there and say rotate. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but since I was in a path, these things automatically say path. Transform the path. So if you're ever trying to create something and you have a path open, it's going to automatically do it to the path. So keep in mind that if you have paths open, turn them off if you don't want to affect the path. All right, so now I'm going to go in here and just create a little smiley face for him. And this is going to be his little face right here. This is his little mouth, and it's going to be open like that. And close it off, and right there, there's his little smile. And he's going to have an area right here where these are his lids. Going to have these big lids for his eyes right there, and one right there. Okay, so now underneath those lids is going to be the eyeballs. Let's move this one down just a little. So I'm going to get another oval right here, and this time I'm going to draw a big circle right here, which will be one eye, basically the iris, and the other one right there. And then a little guy inside, which will be the little pupil. Let's put it right where we want it, right there in the middle. And we'll duplicate that one across to this side. So there, now we have all the basic paths that we're going to need to create our little character. And you know what? I'll tell you what, we're going to put a little bottom lid as well. So let's duplicate it right down here and duplicate that one here. And we'll shorten those just so that we have a smaller lid at the bottom there and down here, and make it slightly different so that they don't look like the ones above. So we'll just kind of close this in like that. So now he's got some bottom shape there. So that's good. There's our little character. Let's go save our paths. So now we're going to create them. I'll select this outer path here, and we're going to create a layer and call it the body. This is the body of our little MnM. We'll make it a blue MnM. So we get a nice blue color, and I'm going to go in there and just go ahead and fill that path with that color right there. So now I'm going to select these two. These are his lids, right? So in a layer on top of this, we'll call it eyelids. And we'll fill them with that same color. Get the paths and fill them. This is going to be his edges of the lids, right? These are what we'll call these. I don't know what we'll call them. We'll just call them things. All right, so we'll go over here and say things. These are the things which we'll fill with that same blue. So those are all the basic shapes that are going to be the blue, right? So now I'm going to select this. Those are the eyeballs again, right? And what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to create a layer right on top of the eyelids, but underneath the things, I'm going to create a layer. I'm going to call this the white. This is the white of the eyeballs, which I'm going to pick a nice white color. Not pure white, just slightly off-white. I'm going to fill those paths again. Then I'm going to take this area right here. And what kind of eyes should he have? How about blue eyes? Of course. So we'll pick this blue up again. And this time we'll just make it a little bit darker. A little darker blue. And in a layer for the iris, right above the white, we'll call it the iris. That's going to be that little tone right there filled with blue. And then, of course, the little pupils, which we'll fill with black in a layer above the iris called pupil. and we'll fill it with black. There. All right, so now we're going to add one more little thing, another little circle right here. We'll just add one more little set of circles to our paths right here. And we'll duplicate that right over here. And that's going to be that little shine in his eye, which will go to white, new layer, above the pupils, new layer, and we'll call it shine. And we got the white, so we'll fill the path with white. Finally, we have the mouth. So I'm going to select this area, this path of the mouth, and use a black, and I'm going to go in there and create one last layer above the body, right here, which we'll call the mouth, and fill that path with black. So there's our basic character. So now we're going to go in here and start to make him come to life. So the whites of the eyes, I'm going to take this whole section right here, right up here, and throw it away. I'll take this section right down here and throw it away. All right, so now let's start giving this thing a little dimension. The body, I could do it a couple of different ways. I'm going to go in here and just apply inner glow, or maybe better, I'll give it a inner shadow. And I'm going to have the shadow coming from this direction here. The light's coming from up here, so that means we're going to fake it and have it come from down here. Increase the size on that. The distance, let's break that distance down so we have this nice little shape like that, and we'll click OK. That's looking good. Now, I might want to add a little highlight right in here. So I'm going to go in here and get a dodge tool right here and make it really big. And we're still in the body layer, so I'm just going to throw a little highlight right through here. Now, we're not seeing much, so let's go in there and say the shadows. And now we're getting this little highlight right there behind the eye. There we go, the little highlight. So now we're going to go into those eyelids, and we're going to give those a little bevel and emboss. And we're going to turn off global light. And we do this, you see how everything else changed? We don't want to do that. We want to just affect this one layer. So I'm going to turn off the global light and then have that light coming from this direction right there. I'm going to increase the size of that. So we have that nice little effect happening there on the eyes. Click OK, and that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go in there and soften those just a little bit by giving them a little bit of a blur. Just a little tiny Gaussian blur, just to make those little things just like the little soft bubbles coming out of his face. All right, then we got these eyelid things, the things. So we're going to go in there and we're going to just duplicate this effect right here. Holding down my Option key, Alt to the PC, and dragging that up to the ear. So I'm applying that same effect to those two guys, right there like that, which I'm going to apply one more layer style to. I'm going to give it a little drop shadow, which again, I'm going to turn off the global light and say I want that drop shadow coming from this direction. So we have a little shadow underneath, also on top of the whites. Click OK. Now the whites. I'm going to go into the whites of the eyes right there, and I'm not going to do any kind of effects on them. I'm just going to go in there and darken those little edges. I'm just going to give it a little dark along this edge right here. Let's say the highlights, and I'm going to go in there, set that the highlights. I'm going to give it a little darkening right along this edge, just like that, and a little lightening right along this edge, just to make a little lighter right through here, just a little bit like that. So now we're getting that. Now the little irises, we'll give those a little something. We'll give them just a little inner glow, which we'll set to a darker tone, like that. Set that to multiply, so we'll have a little darkness right along the edges of the little eyes there. There we go. And then we got the mouth. Let's go do stuff to the mouth. First of all, I'm going to blur it. Give it a little Gaussian blur. Let's set it up the way it was, and we'll just soften that mouth up just like that. And what I'm going to do is below it, I'm going to create a little indent. So I'm going to go to my paths, and make sure that path is turned off, and I'm going to create the semblance of a little lip down here. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm just creating a bunch of paths, a bunch of shapes that I'm going to go in there and manipulate after the fact. So I get this nice sense of just a little lower lip. Let's close this off just like that. Okay, and I got that black. So in a new layer, right on top of the body, but underneath the mouth, create a new layer, and we'll call it the lip. And I'm going to go ahead and fill that path with the black, which I'm now going to blur it. I'm going to blur that quite a bit, like that. And then bring down the opacity for it considerably. So it just becomes this little hint of a little lip down there. And there we see that we have this cool little cartoon character. That could have been an MnM. It could be anything you want. But basic steps in there is something that you can follow to then create a little cartoon character of your own.